Hey, true seekers, welcome back. Zach here. It's February 23rd, 2017. Last night's radio show, I heard there were some technical difficulties and some people were not able to listen to the program. If you wanted to listen to last night's show, down in the description, I'll give you the link here. Just click listen now on episode 25 and you can listen to all of last night's show. You can skip ahead if you heard part of it. It's free to listen to for 10 days after the show, which began Wednesday, February 22nd. So from then to 10 days later, you can listen for free. If you're a paid subscriber of Truth Frequency Radio, you can go back and listen to any archived episode of any show. And there's a monthly rate, a quarterly rate, a annual rate. So check that out. But episode 25, you can listen to the entire program here. There were callers throughout the show. It was like a normal show, but unfortunately, I guess a large chunk of people weren't able to hear it live because of a glitch. So apologies. Well, in last night's show, I was going to do a lesson on the presidents because we had President's Day. Yesterday was George Washington's supposed birthday, February 22nd. I talked about George Washington, but I didn't get to Abraham Lincoln. I didn't get to Adolf Hitler. I wanted to talk about at least them, also Donald Trump. So today I'll make a video doing what I meant to do last night. Plus I haven't put out a video. I've been working hard on the book. Everything's okay, everyone. I'm just working on the book. I got to get it done. That's priority one right now. I've been working hard. Admittedly, I've been writing a lot slower than I did a year ago when I was working on this. But it's okay. Good content's coming. It's going to get finished. I'm just moving at a slower pace, which might be a good thing. So anyway, here's a lesson. Today is February 23rd, 2017. February 23rd, 1861, Abraham Lincoln was the president-elect. The country was on the verge of civil war. There was supposedly an assassination attempt on Lincoln on this day in history, 1861, at the Willard Hotel, which is in Washington, D.C., near where he would take residence as the president. So what I'm going to show you is what that date, February 23rd, has to do with the date he died, April 15th, 1865, after being shot by an actor in a theater. There's a major synchronicity between what happened in the Willard Hotel and where Lincoln supposedly died, Ford's Theater. So we're going to uncover that, and then we're going to talk about some other very interesting synchronicities in history, such as how Barack Obama seems to be a major tribute to the presidency of Lincoln, who's said to have ended slavery. And of course, Obama's the first black president. So we're also going to talk about that angle. Plus, we're going to go back and talk about George Washington, who was said to be a slave owner. We'll talk about Adolf Hitler and the amazing synchronicities he has with presidents such as Washington and Lincoln, and not by coincidence. In case you're new to my channel, we talk about the language of gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words. Very relevant language in the Bible, and as it turns out, very relevant in the English language, recorded history, and what goes on every day in your mainstream media news headlines. So where we're going to start, and we're going to lead right into the assassination of Lincoln, but we need to begin with this Bible passage to appreciate the synchronicity between the assassination attempt on Lincoln, February 23rd, 1861, and his death on April 15th, 1865. So Revelation 13:18, infamous Bible passage. Revelation's the final book of the Bible, the book of prophecy and destruction, what will supposedly happen to the world before the return of Jesus. 66th book in most Bibles. Revelation 13:18 reads, "Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 600 threescore and six." The portion that says, let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, sums to 223. Kind of like today's date as we write it in the U.S. February 23rd, 2/23. The number of the beast has a lot to do with the death of Lincoln, which we're getting to. In English reduction gematria, one of the most important formats to understand the alphabetic order and this English reduction, which is based on the alphabetic order, compressing each digit of the alphabet to a single digit number and then adding the word. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, up to Z is the 26th letter. Z isn't worth 26 in this format. It's 2 plus 6 equals 8. You make each letter a single digit. You add the word. Here is wisdom doing this, sums to 66, the way this verse begins. Number of the beast, what this number is referenced as, same format, sums to 66. Revelation, the 66th book of the Bible. The number is 666. Okay, so using the alphabetic order, here is wisdom sums to 147, and let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast in the reduction sums to 223. These two formats are interrelated. They're dependent on one another. These two numbers, 147 and 223, share a relationship in mathematics. There's something called octal numbers, base 8. In base 8, 147 is 223. I'll explain how that works at the end of the video. Just understand that for now. There's a mathematical relationship here. Plus, it seems to be that Freemasonry, who no doubt is the Freemasonic network that existed at that time, is no doubt who created the English language. There's so many tributes to Freemasonry within English. It's undeniable. And when you realize what Freemasonry is, its history, how long it's been around for, that these people have formed a worldwide alliance that has been with this world for hundreds of years, if not thousands. They're the keepers of knowledge. They pride themselves on being aware of spiritual texts and, all forms of information out there. So you look at this network, you look at who would have the power to create such a language, which has now become the language of the New World Order, English. You start to connect the dots, it becomes obvious. But anyway, look at this with 147, 223, and Freemasonry. Freemasonry has the 147 connection in gematria. Masonic has the 223 connection, number we talk an awful lot about. The head of a Freemasonic lodge is called a worshipful master, having the gematria of 223, these two interrelated numbers. Worshipful alone has the gematria of 147. Very interesting how those numbers follow each other in this verse. Here is wisdom. Freemasons pride themselves on being the keepers of, knowledge, information, wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast. Well, who is that has understanding? I think by being aware of this language, it becomes clear who has the understanding. And there is a lot more that's interesting about this verse, but I want to focus on this with regards to the death of Lincoln and what we're going to talk about in regards to the history of U.S. presidents and beyond. So from the Lincoln assassination attempt, February 23rd, 1861, to April 15th, 1865, is 216 weeks. 216. That's the product of 6 times 6 times 6. That sums to 216. That was a big number in Donald Trump's selection as president, having his GOP convention in the 216 area code. This number has been relevant throughout history. Obama, from the land of Lincolns, born on the 216th day of the year. Look at this. In gematria, Willard Hotel is a match with Ford's Theater. It was February 23rd. Lincoln had the assassination attempt on him at Willard Hotel, and he died April 15th, 1865 at Ford's Theater. And notice the gematria 58 for both. in the reduction format. In reduced gematria, Freemasonry equals 58, secret society equals 58, we the people 58, United States, if you take into account the S exception, sums to 58. Special number, science equals 58, NASA established in 58, run by Freemasonry. Significant number throughout history. Stanley Kubrick has filmed The Shining. Right at the 58th minute of that film, the boy reveals his sweatshirt standing up, and it's a NASA rocket. Freemasonry, widespread from the White House to Hollywood, and always doing things by the numbers. We just learned about this reversed gematria, and it has really opened the door to a lot of strong parallels. Notice that Willard Hotel and Ford's Theater in reversed are a match, both 68. What's so interesting about this is Barack Obama in gematria sums to 68. MLK and Bobby Kennedy were assassinated in 68. 911 became the national emergency dialing code that year. World Trade Center construction began. Space Odyssey 2001 came out 33 years before 2001. Think about 911, the World Trade Centers in New York. Bush graduated from Yale and Skull and Bones in 68. Big year, 68. Barack Obama in gematria sums to 68. And he reopened Ford's Theater right after becoming president, which we'll talk more about. Major tribute to Lincoln, this nation. In ordinal gematria, both Willard Hotel and Ford's Theater both sum to 139. Freemasonry, using the same format, also sums to 139. America. Let me just show you this on the calculator real quick so you can appreciate this. America in reverse ordinal 139. Think about Lincoln to save the Union. Freemasonry in ordinal 139. And with regards to the 185, I just did some recent work on September 11th, World Trade Center 185, and a whole lot more. You know, this was a national tragedy, the assassination of a president right at the beginning of his second term. September 11th came in the first year of Bush's first term. A lot of times early in presidencies, there'll be a historic shaping moment. 9/11, the assassination of a president. Interesting how this number shows up in these assassinations related to a Lincoln, the attempt and where he died. You never seen my video on the movie Monsters, Inc., which came out just after September 11th? You know, the kids film? Check that out. A lot of 185. Not a coincidence. So Obama, when he first became president, the date was February 11th, 2009. He went to Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., where Lincoln died. That theater had been closed since 1977. Hadn't been open to the public since 1977. Using the alphabetic order, the word theater sums to 77. Using the alphabetic order, if you come to this calculator and you click on the format, it'll just show you T's the 20th letter, H the 8th, E the 5th. Theater 77, if you use the English reduction where you make each letter a single digit. You know, a second ago T was 20, now it's 2 because 2 plus 0 is 2. Theater's 32. From 1977 to 2009, when it reopened, was 32 years. And 32 is a special number. America equals 32. Notice how in alphabetic order, America equals 50, like the 50 states. If you write out 32, check this out. Comes back to 50. But anyway, this theater had been closed since 77. Washington, D.C. is on the 77th meridian, known as the American Meridian. On September 11th, it was reported that Flight 77 hit the 77-foot tall Pentagon, and you can verify all this. Look it up. The Pentagon's 77 feet tall on the 77th meridian, Flight 77 on September 11th. And if you look at the time it took off and the time it crashed in the 9/11 Commission report, it's exactly 77 minutes. If you write out September 11th, wait a minute. Oh, I'm missing an E. If you write out September 11th correctly, it sums to 77. If you write out World Trade Center, it sums to 77. What's really interesting is if you write out 77, it sums to 49. 7 times 7 is 49. And of course, Washington, on the 77th meridian, also has gematria 49. Special number. The original capital of the nation, Revelation is where the name Philadelphia comes from. Philadelphia was the capital before Washington. In Revelation, it says the synagogue of Satan, this 223, will rule in the end times. They are the false Jews. And this is written to the church of Philadelphia, which in reverse ordinal gematria is 223. The church of Philadelphia gets the letter about the synagogue of Satan, 223, the number we were talking about. And notice how Philadelphia is 101 in ordinal. Look at this. Church is 101 in reverse ordinal. It's the church of Philadelphia that's written to about the synagogue of Satan. So what we're looking at are forms of gematria. Reverse ordinal is the alphabetic order backwards. Z is 1, A is 26. Ordinal is just the alphabetic order. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, up to Z is 26. Isn't that so interesting? You know, the way all this works out. What are the odds of this being a coincidence in light of how these things are coded all throughout our nation's history? You know? Look at the Star-Spangled Banner in gematria. The 119 in reverse, the 223. These numbers, very relevant. There's a reason it was February 23rd that Lincoln had the assassination attempt on him. So anyhow, Obama, on February 11th, 2009, 32 years since the theater was closed, reopens the theater. Ceremony. You can watch it still on YouTube. There's an actor playing the part of Lincoln. He gives him a plaque and refers to it as illuminated. February 11th, 2009 was a date with 42 numerology. 42, a number stamped all over black people throughout history. February is Black History Month. February is the only month that has gematria 42. February 11th was the 42nd day of the year, 31 days in January plus 11 in February, a date with 42 numerology, Black History Month, the first black president, and they have him reopen Ford's Theater where Lincoln, who supposedly saved the slaves, was killed by an actor in a theater. And as we know, politics is theatrics, deceiving the masses. So look at this. Obama, remember 216 weeks from the assassination attempt to the assassination death. Obama is born August 4th, 1961. August 4th is the 216th day of the year. If you've never seen my video on Obama's birth and the Andy Griffith show that played Christmas Day 1961 that foreshadowed the death of JFK from 411 Elm Street, you got to check that out. It's all part of the riddle. And you've probably heard the riddle before, but with Lincoln and Kennedy and the theater and the warehouse and all that. These riddles are deeper than you know. But right now we're focused on Obama and Lincoln. Obama born August 4th, the 216th day of the year. The date Lincoln died was April 15th, 65, a date with 84 numerology. In gematria, United States of America equals 84. In the reduction method, the reversed reduced, Abraham Lincoln is 84, the man to save the Union. Obama, who has the 8-4 birthday, 8-4, 84 date numerology, Lincoln died. Obama from the land of Lincoln. And then these synchronicities, even Obama and Jewish gematria is 84. Zionism and Masonry are 84 in reverse, not by surprise. So look at this. Obama was the 44th president, but only the 43rd person to be president. Just like how Trump's number 45, but only the 44th person. Obama being the 43rd person is very interesting in regards to Lincoln for these reasons. First, the 44 parallel. Abraham using the alphabetic order. Just show you this. Abraham using the alphabetic order is 44, just like the word hope, which Obama ran on. Became the 44th president, but only the 43rd person. So 43 is a huge number with Lincoln. Lincoln was the Civil War president. Lincoln was born on February 12th, the 43rd day of the year. In Gematria, Civil War equals 43. There's supposed to be an I there. If you spell Civil War correctly, I'll just show you again. Why not? Civil War is 43, just like Charleston. 43. Lincoln born on the 43rd day of the year. Lincoln would die a span of 43 days. 43 days from the start of his second term as president. He was reelected on November 8th. We just had Trump's selection on November 8th. For one more 43, Lincoln also died 4 years and 3 days after the Civil War began, which was April 12th, the 102nd day of the year. The word slavery equals 102, a war that had a lot to do with slavery beginning on the 102nd day of the year. United States of America, with the S exceptions, is also 102. And this date Lincoln died, this is a fair date numerology the way we took it. April 15th, 1865. If you consider the 18, you can add 18 more to 84, which is 102. And United States of America is 84, with the S exceptions is 102. And he died on a date with 84 and 102 numerology in regards to a war that began on the 102nd day of the year to save the Union. The date Obama was selected to be the 44th president, but truly the 43rd person, was November 4th, 2008. Perfect date to be selected as the president. It falls on that date often because of the way it's set up. President of the United States has Gematria of 114. Notice also the 147, Club of Freemasons. But think about it, November 4th, the date Obama was selected, 11 plus 4 is 15, plus 20 is 35, plus 8 more is 43. It was a date with 43 numerology, and he gave his acceptance speech in the land of Lincoln in Grant Park, which in the reduction format has this Gematria 43. And if you really pay attention, you'll notice how these other numbers are very relevant, which we'll talk about here. So that is Lincoln, Obama, the parallels. I would wager anything, both the names Abraham Lincoln and Barack Hussein Obama are contrived actor agent names for playing the part of president of the United States, as both men did. This nation is an ongoing operation, a military agenda, a grand deception, and the people who play president are actors that are willing to play their part. Important point about the name Barack Hussein Obama. In the reduction format, his name sums to 64, just like civil rights. In the same format, the Civil Rights Act happened in 64, 44 years before 2008 when he was selected as president. And real quick, I want you to also notice this. The alphabetic order Gematria of 163, Make America Great Again. What Trump's been wearing on his hat also has this 163 Gematria. In 2011 at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, Obama joked about the next president, Donald Trump, showing the short skit with the White House with gold pillars. It's all planned, Truth Seeker. These presidents are selected, not elected. We're living out an agenda. These are the people who sell us out. This is how their birthdays, their names are crafted. This has been going on a long time. So let's go over a few more points on Lincoln, the man born on the 43rd day of the year. Take some time to check out where he was born. I've covered that in older videos. You know, there's always more, truth seeker. But anyway, we just talked about all the major 43s with Lincoln. Date of his birth, interesting numerology. The date of his death, the numerology of 102 and 84. Look at his name in Gematria. 60, 84, 123. Interesting numbers. The word order has Gematria of 60. There was a war to maintain the order of this nation. 84, very specific to the United States of America. The word Jesuit in the alphabetic order sums to 84. They say the Catholic Church and the Jesuits protected John Surratt, one of the assassins and conspirators involved in the death of Lincoln. 123, just like the word conspiracy. The name Lincoln in Gematria is also very fitting for death and president. The word president, let's just appreciate it here. Whoops. There it is. President, 110. Lincoln, in reverse, 110. And did you notice how in reverse, president is 133? Look at it. White House, 133. Government, 133. Major synchronicities. 34 and 38 are numbers that have everything to do with death and killing all throughout history. I was blown away when we found this reverse gematria method. One of the first things I tested it with was the words that have to do with death and killing, because we've documented for the last 3 years how around every suspicious death are the numbers 34 and 38 again and again, 79 as well. The word murder in reverse is 38 and 83, you know? Numbers that we just see again and again and again, you know? Even the name Prince. And you might recall last February 2016, after Vanity died, I said why we might be reading about Prince dying next and how it had to do with Vanity and Prince's name, both connecting through 118, a number of death. That's in Jewish gematria, where death is 118. Look at where Prince died, in an elevator, you know. Lincoln was reelected on November 8th. So anyway, the more of this gematria knowledge you're aware of, the more clear the picture becomes. Even things like RIP. RIP, we've always talked about how RIP has the 43 connection. Reverse ordinal, it's 38. Like death, RIP, like you put on a tombstone. Just a little side point. The date Lincoln died, date with 39 numerology. We've talked about, you know, how James Madison on a date with 39 numerology made 10 proposals, or Madison on a date with 39 numerology made 39 proposals that became the 10 Bill of Rights, the relationship between 10 and 39, how Madison's vice president was the governor of New York, who had a lot of 39 connections. We always talk about all the 39 coding in New York. New York 39, Empire 39, NY 39, the United Nations there, 39 floors tall. Look at what NYC is in reverse ordinal gematria, the other common acronym for the city. Another 39. New York was established on a date with 39 numerology, plus so many other things. You look at how it's coded into the language. You look at how the United Nations there is 39 floors tall. You see how this number's been significant throughout history. I mean, it should become apparent to anyone with a functioning mind that this stuff is not coincidence. This is purposeful. The Old Testament of the Bible is 39 books. Revelation is based on the 39 books of the Old Testament. Again, Lincoln, the day he died, again, a date with 39 numerology. Abraham, the Bible. Lincoln also died at age 56 in the month of April at the end of a war. Adolf Hitler did the same thing. The word president with the S exception also has gematria 56. Washington, D.C., just in reduction, has gematria 56. So Lincoln, Adolf Hitler, both dead at age 56 in April at the end of wars that they're blamed for. Washington, D.C., the small ways, 56. Dead in Washington, D.C. was Lincoln. Lincoln was the 16th president. 16, special number. One of two that I am aware of, 16, that has the gematria of 33. Interesting that in reverse it's also 39 and 93. But 33 and 96 have always stood out. The word Freemason has gematria of 96. 33, the number of fixation. 33, the number of fixation for Freemasonry. The White House, or not the White House, but the Masonic Lodge in Washington, D.C. has 33 pillars on the outside. Washington, the first recognized president, was a 33rd degree Freemason. Washington, on his plaque in D.C., it says Freemason and President, with the word Freemason first. Think about it. So yesterday was the historical birthday of George Washington. In his time, we were on the Julian calendar system. We've since moved to the Gregorian calendar. On the Julian calendar, George Washington's born on the 42nd day of the year. Freemason equals 42. The 42nd state is Washington State. Freemason, George Washington, Freemason and President. Last year, 2016, I put out a long video on President's Day, an hour's worth of information. If you want to go back and watch that, there's a whole lot of knowledge I share about, where he died, the day he died, the age he died at. But this video is already long, so we're going to go quicker. His birth numerology, date with 56 numerology. We just talked about how Washington, D.C. equals 56, named after him, president equals 56. Date was 73 numerology, the word united, 73. He died at age 67, like Freemasonry. Freemasonry has gematria of 67. He died on a date with 142 numerology. When you write out 42 as a word, using the alphabetic order, it sums to 142. It's very interesting that it's 74 in reverse, because that's the number for Masonic, and Freemason is 42. President Obama, also 142. We were talking about 42 stamped on black people throughout history. There's a reason Jackie Robinson wore 42. The date he died was a date with 52 numerology. Look at this. Look at this about 52. White House in reduction sums to 52, just like government. And in reverse, president. George Washington, first recognized president, dead on a date with 52 numerology. In more recent time, Pope Francis met with Barack Obama on September 23rd, 2015. Here's what was interesting about that. That was the 266th day of the year. Pope Francis is the 266th Pope. You can write that date 23/9, which looks like 239. 239 is the 52nd prime number. The word Pope equals 52, just like government, just like White House. Washington, D.C. is where the Catholic colony used to be, Maryland. This is how the Freemasonic network operates. Pope Francis is a Jesuit Pope, the first Freemasonic Pope. The Jesuits are the Masonic order within the Catholic Church. At least so we're told. Also, Washington died on a date with 34 numerology. We just talked about how murder equals 34. 34 and 38, again and again around death. Dead at age 67, Freemasonry equals 67, blood sacrifice. George Washington in gematria, very interesting numbers. 88 representing time, 74, favorite number of the Freemasons, 187, which as it turns out is very relevant to numerous presidents. George W. Bush was born on the 187th day of the year. This is George Washington, 187. Donald Trump had his GOP convention in Cleveland, the 216 area code, which began July 18th, 18/7, exactly 187 days before Inauguration Day in Washington, D.C. Now think about this. Washington, D.C. is named after George Washington, gematria of 187 in reverse, just like George Washington forward. How could that be a coincidence? Donald Trump, his convention 18/7, 187 days before Inauguration Day. This number 88 associated with Hitler, HH, Hail Hitler. Mein Kampf has gematria of 88, like the name Trump, using the alphabetic order. Adolf Hitler has the 187 gematria coding as well. George Washington and the men who have their faces in the mountains of South Dakota, they are known for waging the genocide of the natives. And in the history books, Hitler is known for waging the genocide of Jewish Europeans. So we're told. If you've never seen my work on the Holocaust and Hitler, you should check it out. We'll talk about it a little bit here. I'll link all these posts if you want to go over them and appreciate these numbers further. Notice that Washington, D.C. is 137 with the alphabetic order forwards. White House is 137 in reverse. 137 is the 33rd prime number, the number of Freemasonic obsession. George Washington, a Freemason. You know, when you write out 16, it sums to 33. The assassination of Lincoln, the first presidential assassination in the history books. All of these numbers come back to, you know, oftentimes 33, 74, 47. Those numbers, a lot of this comes back to again and again. 42 as well. You can call them the numbers of Freemasonry. So here's Hitler. You know, in the United States, what we learn about the world wars is they teach us almost nothing about World War I. They say it began with the assassination, you know, of the Franz Ferdinand, Archduke. Then they pretty much skip all of the war and they teach us about how awful Hitler was and the Holocaust, and then we don't learn much else other than we were the heroes who stopped this horrible man Hitler. Well, it seems that to me what's really going on is history is being purposefully contrived. Wars are being needlessly created. People are needlessly dying to steer about a planned agenda. You know, world domination, like what we have now. The world is run by banking, and there are a concentrated interest of people who control international banking, and all of the people of this world live under their tyranny. These people make war for money to keep their Ponzi scheme in place. And I think along the way, Adolf Hitler was a man who was used in this agenda by the numbers. Likely another created character. They say Adolf Hitler died at the end of the war, but they didn't recover his body. It's rumored that the Catholic Church took care of him in South America, just like how they took care of John Surratt, the supposed assassin of Lincoln. Adolf Hitler, in reduction gematria, sums to 56. He would die at age 56 in April, like Lincoln. Number connected to president. Also in alphabetic order, his name sums to 110, just like the word president. His birthday is April 20th, the 110th day of the year. In the U.S., in the last half a century, people have been taught the most two evil men in the world are Adolf Hitler and Osama bin Laden. The World Trade Centers were 110 stories tall. Notice Osama bin Laden equals 110. Building 7 that fell that day was 47 floors tall. Adolf Hitler, 110. President, 110. The Rockefeller family. You know, it was the Rockefellers who proposed the World Trade Centers. Powerful industrial family. So anyway, Adolf Hitler, some serious numbers in the name. Adolf sums to 38, just like Germany, like Jew as well, like death, like killing. George Washington, Adolf Hitler, the parallel is being connected to genocides. You know, they whitewashed that part about George Washington. History, the way it's taught within societies, is so unfair, and, you know, it's amazing that more people don't honestly look at it that way. Just how ridiculous what we're taught is in this nation. Christopher Columbus discovered a land where people already lived. I mean, how does that even make sense? People just accept it. CC 33, paid for by the Catholic Church. The CC, C's the third letter. Christopher Columbus, Catholic Church. Americas equals 33. So Adolf, he was coming to power in 1933. Nazis has gematria of 33, like Berlin, like Holocaust, like Zyklon B, which supposedly is responsible for gassing millions of people. Hitler died on April 30th. 30 plus 4, 34. You know, familiar numbers. Plus 45 equals 79. The word murder equals 79. Dead right after turning 56. We're going to talk about octal numbers again. We mentioned them earlier, the relationship, the 147 and the 223. The name Hitler has gematria of 72, and in octal it's 110, like President and Adolf Hitler, which is interesting. More research to be done here. But real quick, when Hitler was coming to power in 33, do you know what was going on in the U.S.? It was the height of the Great Depression, and it was the end of Prohibition, and alcohol was being made legal for the first time. The 18th Amendment was repealed at the end of 1933 on a date with a life lesson number of 33. Look at alcohol in reverse ordinal gematria. I just did a video a few weeks back on alcohol in 33. That was before I was aware of reverse gematria. And alcohol, sure enough, is 33. It was the Cullen-Harrison Act earlier in the year that got the ball rolling by the numbers. 76, the word master equals 76. Think about the establishment year of this country, 1776. The act became effective March 22nd. This act right here, proposed by Congress March 21st, signed by the President March 22nd, a date that can be written 22/3, began the first beer and wine sales in the United States. The date the President signed it was a date with 77 numerology on the 77th meridian. A lot of numbers we talked about, 58. Beer first went on sale April 7th, 1933. April 7th, 4/7 or 7/4. Freemasonry has something called Euclid's 47th problem about how to establish foundation. Foundation equals 47, like framework, like authority, like obey. Think about it. This was all done on purpose. If you've read about what happened after Prohibition, they said because so many people were down and out, it became a nation of alcoholics. You know, who knows what's all true, but if you read about how much people were drinking in the United States after Prohibition, it's insane. They show that people were using pretty much their whole expendable income on alcohol, which, you know what, in the modern times, that's true for a lot of people as well. There's a lot of people who spend the majority of their extra income on alcohol. And, you know, to whose benefit has it been? They got the people of this nation drunk and then sent them off to war over something that seems to be based on a lot of historical lies. It's interesting that this act also has gematria of 193, which is the 44th prime number, a number that has to do with killing throughout history. Kill equals 44, or with the alphabetic order. Genocide equals 44 with the alphabetic order reduced. Alcohol has done a lot of destruction to society. I don't know if there's anything else in this world that's done more damage than alcohol. Widespread problems. In that video that I did on alcohol, I talked about the parallels between, the history of alcohol and apples being banned because it's easy to make alcohol from the fruit. And I was talking about the story of Adam and Eve in the Bible and the number 33. This reverse gematria, I'm going to link all these posts if you want to check it out. This is just additional information. Sunday is the only day of the week that sums to 33. I mean, just look at it. It's on the screen. Sunday, sun, good book, Bible, God's son, all 33. Going with things, just complementing what we already knew. And I was reading a little bit more about 33 in the Bible, inspired with the new gematria knowledge, the new connections. I've always known that Noah's Ark is 33, but what I didn't realize is that God makes the promise with Noah the 33rd time Noah's name is mentioned about the flood. So the 33rd time in the Bible, that promise in gematria, Noah's Ark 33. And of course the Bible wasn't first written in English, so what this shows is either it's been manipulated or the people who wrote the Bible in languages of the past, the knowledge, the understanding was passed down, and the people who crafted English and transcribed the Bible knew to encode these tributes. We have to use logic and reason to figure out how it all is. But the 33rd time Noah's name is used, promise between God about the flood, Noah's Ark 33. The 33rd time Abraham's name is used is when his son Isaac is born. Both name and Isaac have gematria of 33. It's the 33rd time Noah's name is used. Noah has the same gematria as Jew. It's from the story of the Jewish part of the Bible. These stories come from Genesis 33. When you write out 33 as a word, it sums to 66. Most Bibles are 66 books in length, where we began with the number of the beast, and here is wisdom. Amen, using the alphabetic order 33. That was the first word I ever learned about with gematria. Amen. I thought that was so interesting because I always thought amen was a strange word to say as a child. Jehovah has that gematria of 33. So I'll link all this if you want to read it over. Real quick, we'll finish with this. Base 8 mathematics. We were talking about the relationship between 147 and 223. In base 8, 147 is 223. This is how this works. In base 8, you count, when you get to 8, 8 is 10. So 1 through 7, just like normal, but when you get to 8, it's 10. 9 becomes 11, 10 becomes 12. When you get to 16, the next multiple of 8, 16 is 20. So every 8, the sequence becomes 10, which means some numbers aren't recorded. Just like how you see 7 is 7, 8 is 10. So there's no 8 and 9 in this sequence. Base 8 is used in computer programming and other more complicated forms of mathematics. Identifying planes on radar. There's reasons base 8 is used. So anyway, this system, the higher you count, the more the differential becomes. By the time you're at 64, 64 in base 8 is 100. It's pretty much 8 times 8, or in this case, 8 is 10, so 10 times 10. You see that? So 64 is 100, 72, 110. We were saying 147 is 223. So look, 144 is 220. That means 145 is 221. 146 is 222. 147 is 223. The relationship we were talking about. from the verse of the Bible to what's encoded into the name of a man who runs a Freemasonic lodge, a worshipful master. So base 8, being aware of this, perhaps more knowledge here, more understanding of why the language is coded the way it is. But just want to share this with you for those who appreciate the mathematics, the knowledge. I'm just teaching you guys as I go along, as I learn more, as I see the relevance. 147 in octal, which is base 8, 223. And, I'm just seeing how there's possibly more to understand here that's relevant. 93, our number of Saturn that we talk about so much. All of this Freemasonry by the numbers seems to come back to Saturn worship. So, another piece to always connect. All right, Truth Seeker, I'll link all these posts in the description. I'll link the Gematrinator calculator. And I'll link here if you want to listen to last night's show. Every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, 3-hour program. You can always listen for free, call in for free, and for 10 days after the show, listen to the archived episode for free. So you could even still catch episode 24 today if you wanted to go back and listen to this show as well. They're both still free to listen to. All right, Truth Seeker, until next time.